sure this looks good.
I promise he said yes. This always happens. It always takes a couple seconds. Coach Jon Scheyer, the Duke associate head coach, former Duke standout. Jon, thanks for joining us today, man.
Duke legend.
Thank you guys for having me. It should be fun.
No doubt, no doubt. We want to touch on a couple things. We want to kind of work in chronological order, right? We want to go from your high school career all the way to where you are now. Obviously started humble beginnings, Glenbrook North. You were McDonald's All-American there, Mr. Basketball of Illinois. What was that experience like? Take us from the beginning of you coming up through that talented program.
Well, it was, some of my closest friends to this day are from that Glenbrook North team. And we grew up together. I think, a lot of people told me in that time I should go to a different high school or go to a bigger school, not necessarily a bigger school in terms of population, but a school with a different basketball tradition or history. And I always felt like that was home for me. I just wanted to build something there. And, I was lucky to play for a great coach and Dave Weber. Won state championship my junior year. Actually, my senior year, we lost downstate to Derrick Rose and a great Simeon team. They won the state championship. But one of the best times of my life. High school is a fun time. And you guys are making me feel old because that's a long time ago. So it's a lot of reminiscing going on right now.
No doubt.
And now, not to harp on it and make you feel even older, but like you said, you talked about people wanted you to go to a bigger school, get more exposure. So what would your message be to a kid, for example, who's got all the talent in the world? He's at a small high school in Arkansas, for example. He wants to get exposure, but he's good enough to go places, right? But he doesn't know exactly what to do. What would your message be? Someone who had all the talent in the world like yourself and stayed at a small school and still ended up at Duke.
Well, I think that there's no right or wrong thing to do, right? We've had guys here at Duke, and they've done it all different ways. We've had a guy like RJ Barrett, who went to a great school at Mount Verde, played with the Canadian national team. Amazing experience, and he was as ready as could be. We've also had, like Zion Williamson stayed at his high school in Spartanburg, South Carolina. And so, whether it be, we've had guys do it all sorts of different ways. I think the main thing is the hard work that you put in. And you still, no matter what, I was lucky you have to get outside your comfort zone. And so even though I was at Glenbrook North, and the AU teams I played on, the different tournaments, the different, games I went to Chicago to play, all those things made me better. So I think getting outside your comfort zone is a big thing.
Now, Coach Chris Collins went to Glenbrook North, and he recruited you, right?
He did.
So what was that like, getting recruited by, Chris? I'm sure you were, plenty familiar with him in your playing days, had plenty. I'm sure everybody had stories to tell about him to you. And what was that whole experience like?
Well, just growing up in Northbrook, he was a legend there. And, it was comforting for me in the recruiting process, talking to someone who understood, my background, where I was coming from. And, he had been in my shoes, so to speak. And so for me, it was just natural relationship, we're as close as could be, even to this day. Obviously I'm rooting for Duke, but Northwestern, whenever they're playing somebody else, I'm rooting for them. So there was just something, a unique situation. Obviously, don't want to say I was following in his footsteps necessarily, but Glenbrook North, Duke, it was meant to be. Let's put it that way.
Right.
Right, and you're one of the most iconic figures in recent Duke history. Freshman year, you started all 33 games, right? Sophomore year, Gerald Henderson comes in. It was a little bit of turbulence. You ended up coming off the bench. Junior and senior year, you're a captain. 2010, you go on to win a national championship. Now, in today's day and age, if someone doesn't start, it's like, all right, I'm transferring, I'm out.
Right.
So what's your message on the resilience it took, the perseverance it took for you to power through that and end up being a national champion?
First of all, I hope Gerald listens to this, but he might have started, but I played more minutes than he did, so that helps. Okay. So I'll say that. But no, I think what it did for me, what it did for me is when you put yourself in different situations. I started basically every game as a freshman. I think I started maybe one or two my sophomore year, but mainly just came right off the bench. It's all about, I always felt like I was going to do whatever the coach asked me to do. And that's basically what it came down to. Never a thought in my mind, leaving, never thought in my mind, this isn't right. It was always about, what can I do for the team? And we had an amazing year. I think I had a great year. And then put me in a position to really take it to the next step as a junior. I was put in a different role. I was more of the point guard, and then senior year, won the national championship, obviously. But it's all those experiences. I feel like it made me better in my role now as a coach, being able to have empathy for guys. And so, it's all, I always think those things happen for a reason, and you can make whatever you want out of those situations.
Let's fast forward a little bit. The 2010 national championship. It's one of those Duke teams. It's an interesting one, right? Not a lot of guys were counting you out from the start. Obviously, with every Duke team, there's some hype, but there wasn't, necessarily that target on your back, maybe then more than other years. So what was that whole experience like? Take us from, the start of that season. Did you feel, something was special about that team, and obviously to the end when you won it all?
Well, I think the first thing is, throughout the entire year, people underestimated our togetherness and toughness. And, I think a lot of people looked at that team and said, oh, they're not that talented. But, we had a number one offense in the country, played incredibly tough defense. We were deep. We were huge, one of the biggest teams in Duke history. And everyone was playing for Duke. There was, we were all in. And it was just a unique team. We'd been through a lot together. You talk about the experiences I went through in my 3 years before that senior year. I wasn't the only one. Like, our entire starting lineup had been through crazy ups and downs throughout our career. So by the time it came, we had the chance to win the national championship, we were all ready to do that.
Mm-hmm. I got to ask, when Gordon took that last second shot, what was the mindset like? Oh my God.
Well, I was right in front of him, and when he shot it, I definitely thought it was on line. Mm-hmm. But when I turned my head and then I tracked the ball, I did not think it was going in. I thought it was obviously close and scary there for a second, but last second I knew it was off. So.
Right. Okay.
No doubt. I want to touch on Coach K, right? You made this transition now that some Duke players have had the opportunity of making from being a college player with him to now an assistant coach. Talk about how your relationship is, only grown since then, and what it's been like to be around a guy of that status for this long.
Yeah, Pat, I've learned a lot from him. Nobody's coached more great players than he has, or, just the ability to be able to recall, when I was, with the Dream Team in 92, this happened. And when I was, in the Final Four at Grand Hill in 94, and the team in, he can just, so many situations and moments. So obviously I've learned a ton from him, but I think it's more, the two things that have always stood out to me about Coach is, one, his ability to connect with people, because end of the day, you can have all the X and O's in the world. You can know the best offensive or defensive strategy, but if you can't connect with your players and relate to them, there's no point. And then the second thing is the ability to adapt. I think Coach is amazing at adapting. He has a different coaching style than he did 10 years ago or 20 years ago. And just, again, when you look at recruiting and just the landscape of college, his ability to adapt has been something that's incredible.
I think one thing that definitely stands out to me, and you kind of touched upon it there with Coach, is his ability to build culture. And, with that is, the word that everyone throws around with Duke, and that's brotherhood. You've been on both sides of it. Now you're kind of facilitating it, showing the new guys, hey, this is what we're about. Talk about what, that brotherhood's like.
No, it's really unique. And just, we're the only school that has had the same coach for over a span of 40 years. And so naturally, any player that comes in here, they have an incredible connection with 40 classes of players. I mean, it's unlike anything. And, Duke is a unique school, but also we've had a unique history. And so there's, guys are proud that they've gone here. And, you see that with guys that are in the NBA. You see that with guys who are done playing. You see it in all those sorts of different things. And I think for me and for us, Nate James and Chris Carrawell and Nolan Smith, who are on the coaching staff, we feel it in our recruiting. We're the guys that we select that are the right place for Duke. It's not just, us wanting good players. It's like they're coming into the brotherhood. Like they have to be the right kind of guy. So it's even more important for us as well.
Now, Jon, anyone with your career during that playing span it would have been okay for them to be egocentric, have an ego and whatnot. And I don't know if you remember this article, but Stuart Mandel from Sports Illustrated quoted and said, the next time Jon talks trash is going to be his first time. So what was it like staying so even keeled and having such good sportsmanship? Even, when people are patting you on the back, telling you, wow, you're this good. How did you stay so even keeled? And what's a message to younger players that are, being put on a pedestal so early?
Yeah. Well, I think you should have come to some of my practices. I don't know if you would have said the same thing, but I always try to stay, just even keeled, during games. But, I had my moments in high school and college where I get a little emotional or intense. But, I think the main thing is I never felt like I was entitled to anything. I think that's the biggest thing. I mean, I felt like I was really good. For whatever reason, right or wrong, I felt like anytime I stepped on the floor, our team was supposed to win. I just think that's something, I don't care who it was. I remember, people, I don't know if they have an appreciation for how good Greg Oden was when he played in high school. Greg Oden's, him and Kevin Durant are the two best players I've ever played against. They're in my class. And we played him and Mike Conley's team at Northwestern my senior year of high school. And I just felt like we were supposed to win. Now, we didn't. But I think there's something when you don't feel like you're supposed to be given anything. But I think that always helped me throughout my career.
Right.
Now, that transition to being a coach, right? You were kind of just, thrown in there right after, you finished with your playing career. Coach K brought you on. What was that transition like? Talk from the beginning of that, journey to, transition to that career path to now. I'm sure you've gotten obviously a lot more comfortable with it.
Yeah, well, I feel much more comfortable in my role. I think one of the biggest things you have to figure out when you transition from a player to a coach is, all right, it's one thing to know what you're supposed to do as a player, but now you know it as a coach. But now how do you communicate that and get it across to your players, right? And so it's one thing, coach always talks about, it's not what you know, but it's about what you're able to get across to your players, right? And so I think that's something, it takes some time like anything, but I feel like that's something I'm very comfortable with now. And, I'm at an age where I feel like I'm still young enough to be able to relate to the guys and understand what they go through, but old enough where I'm not one of their buddies. I'm a coach. And so, I feel very fortunate to be at Duke where we coach great players, great guys, guys who want to get better. But I think that's something, I feel fortunate that I went to Duke because now I'm, 32. I've had 7 years of experience under my belt along with Coach K and, excited with where I'm at.
No doubt.
Right. And Jon, you've been around some immense talent. You've played at Duke, you've coached at Duke, so you've seen a lot. Now, if there were 40 minutes on the clock, right, and you had to go to war with 5 guys that you've coached or played with, who would they be? What's your all-time starting 5 from Duke?
Are you trying to get me killed right now?
There's about 60 names you could list.
Yeah. Can you give me a full roster? Is that what I get?
All right, I'll give you 4 bench players. 2 water boys.
I would just love to say that RJ is coming off the bench, and for RJ won't be coming off the bench. But no, you know what? We've had some of the most unique players in college, and even with there's no way I can name 5.
He was trying. He saw that he was trying. He was like, you know what?
He's gonna text Pat after this. This is off record, right?
I think that you gotta have. Yeah, I don't see there's any way.
I'll give you a pass.
It's a great problem to have. So maybe next time, if you guys have me on another time, that'll give me some time to prep and figure it out. But I guess it's a good problem I can't answer.
No doubt. I want to touch on last year. It was a pretty historic season for Duke, even though you didn't, reach your ultimate goal of winning the championship. But there's just so many memories you can touch on. I want to talk about, what came with having guys like, that freshman class, right? With the amount of hype around it with Zion, RJ, Trey, Cam. What was that like? How did you kind of, keep the guys focused on, the task at hand? And, I'm sure it was quite of a problem to deal with. Well,
I don't know if there'll ever be another class like it. Right. I think it was a really unique group. The attention that came along with all of them, but especially Zion. And I thought he did an amazing job of setting the tone of not making it about himself. I just thought, the guy that got the most spotlight and attention, all he wanted to do was put it on other guys. But I think the versatility and the unique players in that freshman class, but then also you have a lot of times, we had, Trey, Cam, RJ, Zion, and Jack White on the floor, or Javin DeLaurier, or, a team that could switch 1 through 5, share the ball, make passes. It was just a really unique, fun team. And obviously, anytime you lose, you never want to lose in the season. But, we're being Michigan State with under a minute left to go to the Final Four. That's the spot you want to be in. And I think, unfortunately, you go through some moments where you lose tough games and you're hurt. But I think this year's team will benefit. We've learned a lot from that. But I don't know if I'll ever coach another group like that. It's such a unique situation.
And then, this year's team, you have some very talented players coming in. There's not as much attention, around this year's team, but, I've watched those guys on the circuit, and they're really talented, obviously. Talk about what you're seeing from the practices so far.
Yeah, that's okay with us. I feel like we are flying under the radar a little bit, but we feel we can be really good. We feel we can be as good as anybody. Trey Jones is our, coming back as a sophomore is huge. And then we're versatile this year as well. You have, just in our freshman class, you have a lot of guys who are different, but, Wendell and Cassius are, versatile wing players, athletic. Then Matt Hurd and, Vernon Carey are inside-out players who, really understand the game. They've played USA basketball. They're experienced. And then for the first time in a while, we have some veterans.
Right.
Javin DeLaurier, Jack White, they're going to play huge roles in what we do. So we're excited about this team. We feel like it's going to be different. We have some work to do, but we love the group, and we'll take this team over anybody.
I have 2 last questions. The first one's a tough one. What's the best piece of advice you've gotten from Coach K so far? And then 2, what are some of the core characteristics that makes Duke Duke?
Well, I think that's a much better question than my Duke starting 5. I'll take that. But, I would say number 1 with Coach, I just think his thing was always just to think outside the box, and just to imagine. Imagine yourself. I remember him recruiting me, and it was always imagine yourself in playing in the Final Four. Imagine yourself, doing this after basketball and coaching. His thing was so different in that regard. And so I've always been a guy who I would like to think outside the box, good or bad, is what I do. So that's been a piece of advice I've always carried with me, just to think differently. And then, sorry, you guys there?
Yeah, we're there. You paused us, man.
I declined a call for you guys.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
And so, and then the second question, I think, what was it, the core characteristics?
What makes Duke Duke, yep.
Well, I think it's a combination of talent, but also character. I think we've had, and not just in the basketball program, by the way, but throughout the entire school. I think, for me, in my class at Duke was a guy named Mike, is a guy named Mike Posner. Mike's, one of the most creative, incredible people I've ever met, and so that's just who you're with on a day-to-day basis. People like him, our basketball program is, we've had talent, no question, but I think it's the character that what makes us different and sets us apart.
Right. Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Jon. I appreciate you taking the time, man, and hopefully maybe next time we can get that starting 5. Maybe
I expect a text later. All right, this is it. Don't screenshot this.
I'm going to think about that one. I'll get
My
back
guy.
to you guys on it.
Jon, thank you so
Jon.
much. Thanks so much.
Appreciate you guys.
Appreciate it, brother.
Good
Good luck this season.
See you guys.
All right, man.
Thanks so much. Bye.
All right, we are here live. Adrian Griffin Jr., RJ Davis joined the front office today. Guys, thanks for joining us today, man.
Anytime.
We want to touch on a couple things, right? It's a big year for you guys. There's a target on your back. Senior year for you want to end things right. Junior year for you, you want to get back to winning the state federation. Kind of talk about your expectations for this year. What are you excited about? Starting with RJ.
Well, we have a new team this year. I feel like this year we have better chemistry. Everyone's getting along with each other. We have a great schedule. So I told the coach that I wanted to play like national schedule, City of Palm, Sioux Paul, all the top national. We go against the top teams in the country, and that's what he did. I feel like we're ready. It all starts tomorrow. Start preparing for ourselves mentally and physically for the season. I feel like we have a great chance of doing something special with this group.
AJ, same question.
I just expect us to play together as a team, and I feel like this year we got a great group of guys, and this year we have a lot of expectations to reach, I guess.
No doubt, right.
But I feel like we all want to put in our work, and we've been playing in an off season. Everyone's been striving to get better, and I feel like we got that hunger back that we had freshman year for me from the federation. So I feel like we want to get back to that this year.
Right, and going off that, RJ, your sophomore year, AJ, your freshman year, you guys won the state championship. So what do you guys have to do this year? What do you guys have to bring back from that year to this year and kind of translate it to win another state championship?
I would say I think the veterans have to lead. Obviously, the people that have been there, we felt that experience. It was a great feeling, celebrating, taking pictures, smiling, and winning that city and state championship. I just feel like we have to play with aggressiveness. I feel like last year was a little bit too soft, took plays off. I could say for myself, I was a little laid back, didn't really get on the guys enough. So I just feel like everyone is gonna have to play the role and do what you have to do for us to get another state veteran championship.
And RJ, you're the senior this year, so everyone's looking up to you. This is your ship. What's your message to the younger guys, the sophomores, the freshmen that are going to contribute?
My message to them is to come in and be ready to play. Practices are going to be a lot more competitive, energetic, and I'm not taking any plays off. I'm start mentally and preparing me for the next level. I'm going to go into practice and as if I'm at UNC. Right. I'm going to go out the gate, guys. I'm going to push AJ, because when I leave, I want him, take over and do what he has to do and hopefully get him another ring. So that's what I'm going to do.
Now, AJ, let's go back to your 8th grade year, right? You see this guy tearing it up for his freshman year. I'm sure you're really excited for Stepanak, the following year, to enter your freshman year here. What were your first impressions of this guy?
I mean, I just saw a bucket, I guess you could say. He seemed like a good person just to play with. And off the court, he's a really good person. So just to be able to have that chemistry on court, it's fun to play with him too. Right.
And now your sophomore year, you get the news okay, Adrian's coming. There's a lot of attention, a lot of people talking about him around this area. Were you really excited about having someone that talented playing with you, and what were your first impressions of him? First time on campus.
Definitely. I think my first time seeing him was at the county center. He was I think he was in 8th grade. I think he was playing against Mount Vernon, and I just knew him coming in. He was a freak. He was a scorer, athletic, strong. I was we could do something special. He came off the bench, but I was coach, I could see him starting. He could help us contribute a lot. He's a big time player, and my impression was this kid can play ball.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, and you guys are around each other pretty much 24/7 at this point. Can you guys do your best impression of each other?
Start with AJ.
AJ, do RJ.
In what way?
Anything on the court, off the court, whatever it is.
Just mannerisms.
If you can't,
I'm putting you on the spot right now.
I'm trying to think.
You gotta think of something. Maybe something small he does after a bucket or something, or something in practice each other. They always do. You each do or something.
Pick it up.
Let's see. Oh, AJ. I know after if he's in the moment, he'll if he scores 5 in a row, 4 in a row, whatever the case may be, he'll scream. Or I'll try to dap him up, smack my hand real hard.
I like that. All right, let's get into RJ. I think guys, that especially 7th graders, 8th graders, they watch your game. I feel like you got to be a little bit inspired, right? Because you're a 6-foot guard, you're quick, and you're definitely athletic, but you didn't win the genetic lottery, right? You're not a 6'4" guard like some of these guys, and everything that you had up to this point resulted from hard work that you put in, right?
Yeah.
What's your message to those kids, that are in that position, that you were 7th and 8th grade, even honestly up to your junior year where you weren't in that top 100. What's your message to those kids?
I'll say not to pay attention to the outside noise. Obviously, politics and rankings is one thing. I would just say, remain level-headed and remain in the gym. Because workers go unnoticed, but once you step onto that platform where you feel like you can compete at a high level, then people will start to notice you. Especially if you're like a small guard, do things that most players wouldn't do. Dive into loose balls, play with energy, lead your team, be vocal. Those are things I started learning through my way of high school. Obviously, I was like a small guard, so I had to try to like spark the game a little bit. So I was known for scoring. So that was like my main thing. I was a scorer with Gaucho, made hoops. That's when you like first discovered me. I was just like, just play with a sense of urgency. That's like my main thing, going into games, play with a sense of urgency and like go after everyone as if like it's your last game.
Right. And you were just at, the UNC, right? You were just on an unofficial. You saw Cole Anthony, who you played against in the CHSAA, multiple times. He just went off for 34 points in his debut. Just talk about that environment, like seeing another fellow New York guy go off, and what was that like? I'm sure you're envisioning yourself there at 12 months.
I love the energy. It was a very supportive school. The game was great. I got a chance to go into the locker room through pregame and just got to feel like the environment a little bit. It was just an amazing feeling. I felt like I was on the bench, registered, and I was just sitting there, had the fans behind me, cheering me on as soon as I walked in and screamed my name, and then they got the win. Just to see Cole, do his thing, and Coach Roy just allow him to distribute the ball, score the ball, come down and like run the plays. What more can you ask for?
Right. Going into the ACC as a 6-foot guard could definitely be a little overwhelming. But at UNC, you've seen guys like Ty Lawson do it, Marcus Page do that. Has that inspired you, kind of given you some comfort?
Yeah, definitely. I got some similarities to Joel Berry. I watched the Marcus Page and Joel Berry actually play together before. I even really looked up to UNC. So just to see them guys pave the way a little bit, just give me a little inspiration and confidence. That's what I can do next year.
No doubt. And then pivoting over to AJ, you decided early, hey, I want to go to Duke. I found my spot. There's no point in delaying this. I'm assuming especially after Countdown to Craziness. Talk about that decision. How sure you were after that visit and what you saw there.
I just pictured myself on that team. I see myself there in a couple of years. I just felt like that was the best place for me because I knew that Coach K and as long as their assistants would get me to the next level.
Right.
And I feel like they would push me and not get complacent with where I am right now and just keep me striving to get better. Yeah.
Right. And your brother Alan, he's a basketball player at Illinois. Your sister's a McDonald's All-American. You guys are all freak athletes. What's the family dynamic like with that? Playing knockout in the front yard has to be pretty competitive,
You grew up just playing one-on-one all the time. We used to always get mad at each other just if we lost. Just go home, talk about it, brag to each other. People think that my sister, she wouldn't beat us, but she would beat us.
She's a buck.
Yeah.
She's a buck.
Your story is different than RJ's, right? Freshman year, right off the bat, ESPN top 25, right away. And you guys have seen it. Guys, freshman year to senior year, it's not often where they, keep it up like AJ, where now he's a top 5 guy. You see guys fall off all the time, right? So what was, your mindset? Like, hey, I'm not only, because you've risen in the rankings, I'm not only going to maintain that, level of success, but I'm going to only improve from there.
It's just putting in the work every day. I just kept that same mindset in my head to just keep working. In the 7th and 8th grade, that's when I just put in all the work. I just feel that I feel like I was underrated at the time. I feel like I wanted to be at the top. I still want to. I just want to keep striving and keep working. So.
Right. I got to ask, just because I can't relate, what's it like being a junior in high school trending on Twitter? That has to be a cool feeling. That's got to be cool. Yeah, you were. I was going through Twitter. I'm like, dude, no way. We're interviewing him next week. That's pretty cool.
It was just. I'm just blessed to be able to say that I was trending. I guess.
Yeah,
it's blessed to be trending.
I was trending on 2K once.
All right, now the obvious, right? UNC, Duke, same high school team. that's only happened a couple times, right? Like there's only so many group of high school teammates have had that, have been able to say that. Start with RJ, like it obviously wasn't planned, right? You didn't know that AJ was going to commit this early. You didn't. I'm sure you weren't certain on UNC. I'm sure you liked UNC, but you want to see out your options and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Talk about that. I mean, that's insane.
I mean, yeah, just to have my partner in crime go to Duke and then UNC, the rivalry.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, we're blessed just to have this opportunity to, be recognized by the blue blood schools.
Yep.
I mean, I took a chance, reviewing all my colleges, going through them thoroughly. I just came back from UNC the Sunday night. I laid it out with my family of all the schools. Went through them, and I just felt like UNC was just the best situation for me, my dreams, and what I wanted to accomplish.
AJ, what's it going to be like? You're warming up, you're getting ready. Obviously, you're focused on the game at hand and stuff like that. You look across the court. That's my former high school teammate. That's RJ. He's playing in debatably the biggest rivalry in sports. What's that? I'm sure a couple of thoughts are going to go through your mind. Yeah, it's crazy. What's that going to be like?
I mean, that's gonna be a special moment just to know that you play with him, I play with him, and just be able to play against him.
Right.
And I guess that would just be, I don't know.
I'm sure it's gonna be wild. But what has Pat given you, your high school coach, Pat Massaroni? Has he told you if he's going to wear, maybe a Duke hat and a UNC sweatshirt? Or, what's the deal there? Anything?
Give an answer, yeah.
I think that's a little bit further down the road.
You might have to go half and half.
Yeah.
UNC
cut off the sweatshirt and stitch them together or something, Duke and UNC, yeah.
I mean, that game's going to be lit, though.
No, it's going to be great.
Now, it's kind of rare for, a high school to have two big-time, huge prospects. I mean, during the recruiting process, it was probably insane. Coach K walking in the door, Roy Williams walking out, So what was that frenzy, that blue blood frenzy, walking in and out of the hallways? Was that cool? If I was a student and I saw Coach K walking, I'd be like, the heck, I'm just trying to go to English, So what was that like, the excitement around the school?
I'll go for it. I mean, it was great. I mean, we had, kids outside, the gym recording, oh, Coach K's here, Coach Roy's here. It was just crazy, just to have those coaches coming to the school. Right. No one ever think that have these blue bloods college coaches come in, especially for well known. It was just great just to see how much of our hard work can take us.
Right. And I want to add something to that. Both of these guys, honestly, I was there when Coach K was there. Spoken to Pat multiple times on it. It would they were so calm, cool, collected. Me and you, if we were students, same thing, would it be?
I was peeping my head in their practice trying to catch some glimpses.
Be losing our minds. These guys, it was it's another practice. You guys played as if it was just another practice. So what was that like? Did you just staying calm, cool, and collected, and just approaching it that way? So with AJ,
it's a really mature approach to it.
Yeah.
I mean, I just feel whenever I step on the court, that's the only thing I think about.
Yeah.
Everything else, it just blocks out. I just think about the people on the court. I just focus in. And no matter who's watching, I just play the same game.
Right. RJ, what makes this guy so special? What makes him different than anybody in the country? What sets him apart?
He works. He's very efficient from the field. It does things that normal kids wouldn't do. You come into a gym, he's stretching, doing ball handles, just getting him ready for practice. I mean, you don't have to do it. No one's telling you to do it. No one's asking you to do it. I mean, he just does it. I mean, I think that just separates him from the rest. He likes to work.
Right. Same question. What makes him different than everybody else? What makes him so special?
I mean, I just feel whenever playing with him, you just feel that he's a person that's he wants to win. He's gonna do whatever it takes, and that's a really good character trait to have. Right. When you're playing with someone, and he makes some special plays too. Right. So
no doubt. What's something that they don't know about RJ? Could be funny, could be something could be simple or whatever. What's something that most people out there that are watching this, listen to this, that they don't know about this guy?
Play Modern Warfare.
Modern Warfare. Big gamer.
Yeah, that's my game.
What's your KD ratio?
I just just got the game. I don't pay too much attention to that. Just pay attention to the kills.
He's focused.
Yeah. Okay.
One goal. One goal. That same question. What's something that a lot of people don't know about AJ?
It's a goofball. A real goofball. I mean, he loves music. And 2K. He loves 2K.
Who's beating each other in 2K?
He probably beat me. Like,
Yeah?
I'll be playing my team.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, 2K thing.
No, but you got PS4. I got Xbox.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds like a pretty convenient excuse. We can't play against each other. Different controllers.
Only time we probably play is probably like if you can do Fortnite, because Fortnite cross plays. That's about it though.
Game to 10. How many buckets does CJ get on you?
0.
0.
We're about to find out in 5 minutes.
Stay tuned. CJ, got anything else? Guys, anything you want to add? Anything up this upcoming season? What to expect? Guys watching this, watching Stepanek, what can they expect?
A lot of highlight plays, alley-oops, dunks.
AJ?
A lot of crossovers.
Guys, thanks so much for sitting down with us today. I really appreciate it. Thanks for putting up with me and CJ. Looking forward to catching you guys this high school season. Should be a really fun one.
Best of luck, guys.
Thank you.
Awesome.